I hope the organizers warned you I'll take you to a very cold place. Did they tell you that? Don't worry, I'll bring you back in one piece. So I grew up in a town in North India, and I grew up with scenes like this. Mountains were so close, and I was so fascinated by them. I still am. Back in those days when I was a kid, my bucket list, if a kid could have a bucket list, was to go to the Everest base camp and witness the goddess in person. And then life happened as it does. I finished my studies, joined as a police officer, married Anita, we have 2 beautiful daughters. In those all 19 years of hectic police life, this was not forgotten. I remembered that Everest itch, and I had books on Everest. My first iPod was named Everester. Somehow that thread of thought continued. It was a fool's hope of remembering keeping pace with a childhood fantasy which seemed so improbable. And then, one day in February 2007, I got a call. This was my batchmate in police, Manoj Yadav, giving me a call to tell me that the Indian government had planned on launching an expedition of police officers to the Everest, and since he knew of my interest in mountaineering and adventure, he thought he'd let me know. I couldn't speak a word. 43-year-old, zero mountaineering skills. I should have cringed at the idea of now climbing. But then I did what most right-thinking husbands do. I told my wife. She was the real hero that day. She looked at me, saw the expression on my face, knowing what I've been thinking about, reading about all these 2 decades. She said, when you go, get a maths teacher for the kids. Cryptic, go ahead. And now I have to choose. This is the picture of the Everest that you see. The choice was not easy. I remember how I decided. We all know we are mortal, but we never keep it in our thoughts. But here it was right in front of me. That what would happen if I don't come back, which is a possibility. But it also reminded me that if I don't seize the opportunity, the regret would haunt me for the rest of my life. I thought about it, and then analyzed my strengths and weaknesses. Down the line, all of them would have to come together to help me succeed if I could. And I also felt that the universe is creating this possibility. Maybe there's a chance of success as well. Why would it open up this door for me if there was no success possibility at the end of it? So I must share, which is difficult for a policeman to share. I was excited and I was scared. Scared also, as I mentioned, because I have a wonderful family, and going away and not coming back would really make them suffer. So my learning has been, which I want to share with you today, that if you need to do something which you love doing or you have to do, if fear doesn't stop you in your tracks, then there's a way of dealing with it. One is, you can sit across that fear, have a conversation with it, to find out what is it you're scaring me with. Jot down all those points and have an action plan ready for each one of them, so that you know, I have taken care of this, I have a plan for this, and that is how I went about planning my preparation, my acquiring of mountaineering skills, reading all I could about the climbs, meeting people who had climbed Everest earlier, learned whatever I could have learned. I had all those plans. Then the question came, what if you don't come back? Objective danger, you don't control that. But isn't that a risk we all take for being alive? Who has guaranteed longevity to any one of us? Even if you play really, really safe, it could hit you anyway. So that is something that we need to keep in mind. So I realized that fear can be a great motivator. It's good to have fear. And then it's like a force multiplier, a fuel for your energy. It gives you all the things that you need to know to get over it, and hence you can now be much better prepared, not just overcome it. Situation will go where it goes, uncontrollable factors, but you would have done the best you could have done, and the fear can be used for that. So it's good to have it, face it, list it down, and act on all those action points. Plus I had my wife's support, so that clinched it. I volunteered for the selection trials, which went for about a year. Help came from unexpected quarters. The present Prime Minister, Shri Modi, was my Chief Minister that time. So my proposal for participating in this expedition went up to him. I must share that I never had to go and meet him and request him in person. The file was approved, including all the expenses which could have been incurred on me. Hurdles kept coming. When I went to the Mountaineering Institute in Uttarkashi to enroll for the basic mountaineering course, the clerk there told me, you are 35 years, no, you are 43 years old, our upper age limit is 35 years, you are 80 years over age, we can't accept you. I was heartbroken. But then there was a guy standing behind me, Colonel Vivek Alawat. He looked at my face, took me to the vice principal, pleaded my case before him, and got me admission. I could finish that course in the A grade, and I was better prepared now. When I looked at my skill set, I realized that there are things I can't control. My age, my lack of experience. But what I could control was my fitness. I must share here that as a kid, I was very tiny, very weak, frail. I used to get bullied so much. Beaten up, bullied. Down the line, when I look back, that was a blessing. Because with all those fears and insecurities, I had got seriously into fitness, into facing my fears, into learning martial arts, into doing a commando course, all those kinds of stuff, and that had prepared me to maybe do this expedition at short notice. So all of those dots had got connected at this point in time. So fitness was my forte, my strength, which I could impact. I had a 24/7 job in police. How to find time for that? I had a 25-kilo backpack. After office hours, I would catch a few hours of sleep, and then carrying that backpack, I would walk the streets of Ahmedabad from midnight to 5 in the morning. Every few days, I would carry that backpack and climb a 12-story building 15 times, 180 floors, to prepare myself in Ahmedabad, which was away from all mountains, but I had to prepare for the mountains. So, with that desire, my life came to a single point of focus. It was like the lens of Everest brought my life to a single point of focus. Nothing else mattered. I shunned all socializations, no junk food, no late nights, no parties, no FOMO. Life was simple, disciplined, and extremely fulfilling. So preparation was like that. And then I'm showing you a picture which might induce some fear, but that's the way these things go. This is my training class in the Nehru Institute of Mountaineering. I'll come to this slide later. So I faced selection trials for almost a year. With all this hard work, I could win a spot on the 15-strong, 15-member climbing team. My sister is a mind trainer, and she taught me visualization to make me mentally better prepared. I was so humbled and grateful for all the people who had helped me prepare for this. Everybody who had come from somewhere, unknown resources coming my way so that I could accomplish what I had set out to do. Also, what interesting was that when I started reading about the Everest, I came across two interesting stories. There's a guy who has climbed Everest who was completely blind. Another person who has climbed Everest with two prosthetic legs. Both his legs he lost in amputations in a mountaineering incident, and he climbed Everest with those legs. If they could do it, I could do it too. I had no excuses. I feel that in our daily lives as well, we don't even know what challenges the person sitting next to us might have faced and overcome, and it is possible to find inspiration around you, very close around you. If you look out for it, you would get inspired and realize your own problems seem too small compared to what other people are overcoming and accomplishing. The starting point of the trek to the Everest base camp, I had this strange feeling that I'm riding a huge wave, which is unstoppable. Obstacles coming were resolved, and I was taken along in the momentum of that wave towards what I had thought of, really wanted to do. So we reached Kathmandu and we sorted our equipment out, and then reached Lukla by flight. The Everest base camp trek starts from here about 8 to 9 days. This is the base camp, 17,500 feet, and we stayed there for 6 weeks. When we use the term sometimes conquering a mountain, it is all wrong. She's too big, She's too timeless. We are like a blink of an eye in the existence of a mountain. And let me tell you, all mountaineers of any nationality, any religion, before they set foot on her, there is a prayer which is done to the mountain goddess, praying for safety and success. This is the prayer pole you see, Lapso they call it. At the back you can see the Khumbu ice fall. This was done to her so that she could keep us safe and she could grace us with allowing us to reach that summit. So once we reach this place, we do 4 acclimatization climbs to successively higher altitudes for longer periods to prepare ourselves. These are the pictures of the camps, Camp 1, Camp 2. And this is an interesting anecdote I want to share with you. I was crossing this crevasse on my first climb and my crampons were stuck in the joint of the ladder. I could not move forward. The more I tried, the more the ladder swayed and bucked, maybe throwing me off balance into a 500-foot crevasse. At one point in time, I thought I'll get out of my boots, step across to safety in my soft feet, but what do I do after that? So then a thought struck me. I stepped back and they came free. So sometimes in life, I learned at top of a crevasse, if you're stuck in life somewhere, take a step back, get a fresh perspective, and then you can move ahead again. Fatigue was amazing. I had never experienced fatigue like that. If I could get out of this room, I would need 5 minutes. I would take 20 breaths for 2 steps. But then I wanted it so much, I kept telling myself, just a few more steps, just a few more steps, and the remaining hours of climb would get completed. This is Camp 3. Universe kept showing me lifelines. At 23,000 feet, I had a bad night of diarrhea. Going for the summit, I spent half my night sitting outside the tent that you see, causing dehydration, weakness. At 25,000 feet, my oxygen cylinder finished. That was a bad thing to happen because getting down also is difficult. Most of the deaths on Everest, 80%, happen in the descent. A strange porter comes up the mountain. He's carrying extra oxygen cylinders for his expedition. Nobody shares those scarce resources. My Sherpa asked him, he willingly offered me a cylinder of oxygen at 25,000 feet. These kind of lifelines I kept getting from the universe, and finally we reached Camp 4. This is where the oxygen finished, and this is Camp 4 South Core, 26,000 feet. So we do an 8-hour climb to reach here. There's a 5-hour break, and then 18 hours more. So as soon as we started climbing in the evening or through the night climb, the diarrhea hits me again. And my mind screams at me, quit, you are not okay to go ahead. But I was so close, and I was so crazy about it. I shunned that thought, and believe you me, after that it was all quiet in the southern front. Nothing happened. It was as if the mountain goddess was checking, how much do you want it? I wanted enough. And then the next 18 hours of flying went by without any untoward incident. And I reached the summit. This is what it looks like. This is the South Summit. This is the Hillary step, which you might have heard of. Edmund Hillary climbed it first. And this is what the summit of Everest looks like. So I must admit, I couldn't have done it alone. I got a lot of empowerment from the community which surrounded me, from my family, my friends, my trainers, my bosses. Strange climbers with their stories had inspired me that you can do it. I could connect to my fellow climbers. We shared success stories, laughter, tears, and that gave me a strength to face my fears and carry on in spite of all these odds. So that community, that huge network of support was so crucial that I don't think I could have done it without that community support. I must tell you here that out of 13 male climbers, 8 of us made it to the summit. Or the 2 lady climbers, they both made it. Kudos to the ladies. They were not physically as tough, but mentally they were so much superior. They would leave, if we would leave at 2:30 in the morning for the climb, they would have left at 11:30 and they would reach before us. So as I stood on the peak, I had a huge sense of awe and gratitude. The mountain goddess in granting me that blessing was reminding me to be humble and grateful for all the big and small blessings we have in our lives. It taught me humility all over again. You know, the physical summit, I feel, was not the real objective or the obstacle. It was a metaphor for an inner mountain of fears and insecurities that all of us have to face and climb in our lives. And that I felt, if you have clarity on your goals and you have complete headlong commitment to them, then it is possible to climb those peaks of aspirations for each one of us. And the journey is so important. Reaching the destination is okay, but the journey of growth and self-discovery that you have is so much important. And unless we do that, maybe we will not really do all we could have done or become in our lives. So my question today, I invite you to think, what is your Everest? What is that goal which ignites a fire inside you, which beckons you to reach for the stars? Existence is finite, but the possibilities, the potential we have is certainly limitless and infinite. And the only failure is not even trying. So your Everest awaits, and I wish you the very best for that. Thank you.